My name is Michael Macau, and I'm here representing myself and my wife, Callie, in support of SB 1. Chairman Perry and the members of the committee, I want to thank each of you for inviting us, the families who lost our daughters at Camp Mystic during the Kerr County floods, to participate in this hearing and let our voices be heard. We had a daughter, Lenny. She was 8 years old. She is dead. On July 31st, we were unable to attend the joint hearing in Kerrville. Our lives have been devastated by Lenny's death, and we are only just beginning the long process of recovery. On July 4th, while driving to Kerrville to pick up my daughter, I received an email from Camp Mystic stating, "If you have not been personally contacted, then your daughter is accounted for." I felt a wave of relief, which was quickly shattered about 30 minutes later when my wife called, incredibly distraught, to say that Lenny is missing. She just got off the phone with the camp. She is unaccounted for. Over the next 48 hours, I was called to the Grimes Funeral Home to identify 2 bodies. One was not Lenny, but the other, I believed, was Lenny. Once the Texas Rangers took over the identification and recovery process, I returned to Kerrville from Austin to provide a DNA swab. Additionally, on July 5th, while searching for Lenny downstream of Camp Mystic, I found a deceased young girl. With the assistance of Wilson County Sheriff's deputies and National Forest Service personnel, we were able to retrieve her body and send her home. I recount these events to emphasize that I had no desire to return to Kerr County for those initial hearings. But I am now ready to speak. Lenny was the middle child between her brothers Bates, who's 11, and George, who's 3. To Bates, she was the pesky but beloved little sister. To George, she was a gentle, playful mother figure. On the weekends, she would even pour him Cheerios and milk so my wife and I could get a couple more minutes of rest. To everyone else, she was a joy. She hugged her teachers, was a friend to everybody, and spread an infectious giggle everywhere she went. On July 3rd, the first flash flood advisory went out in Kerr County, forecasting potential flash flooding through the weekend. Early that next morning, on July 4th, a flash flood warning was issued, and those warnings escalated in number and severity throughout that morning. We trusted Camp Mystic with her precious life, but that trust was broken in the most devastating way. The camp had a heightened duty of care, and they failed to perform. That failure cost 25 campers and 2 young counselors their lives. No one had to die that day. I still remember standing near Bubble Inn the morning of July 5th amidst the wreckage of camp, looking at the cabins and asking myself, how, why, how could these girls vanish into the night without anyone having eyes on them? While cabins, literally just 20 yards away, had no casualties. So what went wrong? When I was in school, we had fire drills. Teachers did not need to be told to line up the kids and head for the exit. They did not need to check with their superiors. If the alarm went off, the school was evacuated. No fire drill I've ever heard of evacuates only one part of a building while leaving others behind. It didn't even cross my mind that a camp like Mystic wouldn't have a detailed emergency procedure in place. When action was finally taken, it was too little, too late. We did not send Lenny to a war zone. We sent her to camp. We trusted she would be safe. No parent should ever again face what we are living through now. Camp is supposed to be a safe place, a place where kids can grow, learn about themselves and each other, and take on some adventure while away from the modern life. Yes, there are risks in outdoor activities, but there was never a question in my mind that a camp would not be prepared for them. I do not hate camp. I went to Camp Oconee Springs outside of Marble Falls for several years. I sincerely believe in camp, and I doubt you will find one person after me who will have ill things to say about the idea of summer camp. I believe that being disconnected from electronics for a time is very healthy for kids, but that disconnection should be superficial. Behind the scenes, the back office, and the foundation of summer camp must be fully up to date. Safety measures must not lag behind. The measures in this bill, keeping cabins out of floodplains, requiring real emergency plans, mandating weather radios and alert systems, should already be the baseline for every summer camp. It will hurt my family forever that for reasons I still do not know, these protections were not in place or not thought out thoroughly for my daughter and the rest of the girls here. SB 1 cannot bring Lenny back, but it can save other children. Please pass this bill, protect our kids, and do not let their deaths be in vain. That is all.
Stewart.
Cece, you can move that over there. My name is Cece Stewart, and this is my husband, Will. We are the parents of Cece Stewart, the only camper from Camp Mystic still missing, and one of 2 known victims who remain unaccounted for after the flood. We are here today for 2 reasons. First, to express our unwavering support for SB 1, the Campaign for Camp Safety. Texas summer camps must be properly equipped, trained, and held accountable so that future generations of children can experience the joy of camp without being placed in preventable danger. Second, we are here to speak of our precious daughter, Cece. 3 generations of women in my family went to Camp Mystic. This year, it was finally Cece's turn. She was 8 years old, going for the very first time, her heart full of excitement to join the tradition of her mother and her aunt, who are both here today. Well, I'm her mother. Her aunt, her grandmother, who is here today, her great aunt, and 5 cousins. For Cece, camp meant adventure, memories, friendships, and lessons to carry for a lifetime. For me, it meant watching my child grow and learn, but always under the assurance that she would be safe. Joy and growth cannot exist without safety. Cece's chance to experience camp only existed because I was ensured that her safety and the safety of all the young girls was paramount. I ask you, what could have been more important than that? But that assurance was betrayed. Obvious common sense safety measures were absent. Protocols that should have been in place were ignored. As a result, my daughter was stolen from us. Cece's life ended not because of an unavoidable act of nature, but because of preventable failures. On just her 5th day of camp, the beginning of what should have been a magical first summer, our Cece was swept away, along with other bright, beautiful girls. She was stolen from her family, from her future, from the world she lit up with her independence and spunk. This legislation cannot bring back our daughters, but it is the beginning of change that must occur so this tragedy never happens again. It is the start of a promise that their lives and their deaths will mean change. It is an effort to ensure that no other family suffers as we all have. In addition to the families that are here today and that lost their children, there are hundreds of other campers that were affected by this that survived. The survival guilt and trauma that they went through, for many, is unknowable. They will be dealing with this for the rest of their lives. It is unfathomable. That wasn't scripted. And yet my daughter Cece Stewart, is still missing. 48 days later, Cece remains somewhere in the devastation of the Guadalupe River. We wait, trapped in agony, until she is brought home. Just this past weekend, we had the impossible task of again addressing our 5.5-year-old daughter that not only had Cece died, but her body has not yet been recovered We had to tell her this because she started kindergarten at a new school yesterday. She needed to hear the unbearable truth from us that Seal's body has not been found, not from kids on the playground. It was the second hardest day of my life. We are profoundly grateful to the rescuers and recovery teams who have risked and sacrificed so much and that are still out there. But I must use this platform to plead with you. My baby girl is still missing. Until she is found, our family lives in a torture chamber of uncertainty. The agony is relenting. We cannot begin to grieve or to honor the fullness of her short, beautiful life until she is recovered and laid safely to rest. We are forced to pray for the day when our child's body is found and to call that good news. I ask you to carry that reality with you as you hear from us and from other families whose lives have been shattered. Right now, we cannot celebrate the light and the love that Seal brought into our lives. We are suspended in endless anguish, unable to move forward, unable to find peace. We ask you, please pass SB 1 so no parent sends their child to camp believing they are safe, only to face this nightmare. And just as urgently, please do not stop the search for Cece Stewart. Please do not give up on our girl. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good morning. My name is Clark Baker. Along with my wife, I'm here to represent myself along with my wife, Katie Baker, Chairman Perry, rest of the committee. Thank y'all so much for your diligent work on prioritizing camp safety. In May, Mary Grace Baker stood in her school's church surrounded by her classmates, her teachers, and her family. She was receiving the St. Elizabeth Ann Seton Award, the highest honor at St. Anne's. It was a celebration of her character and the kindness and joy she brought to everyone around her. We all gathered there to honor the way she lived her life, her faith, and touched our lives. And if we closed our eyes tight, we could almost imagine a world where that beautiful ceremony was just the first page of a lifelong story. But reality had other plans. Just a few weeks later, we found ourselves in church once again with the same faces, the same classmates and teachers, not celebrating Mary Grace's award, but celebrating Mary Grace's far too brief life. As I mentioned earlier, my name is Clark Baker. I am Mary Grace's father, and I'm here to make sure that nobody has to experience what I have over the last 6 weeks. My birthday is July 1st. The picture you are seeing was my last living memory of my daughter. Mary Grace was born in April of 2017. 2 months later, my wife lost her grandmother. And 4 months after that, I lost my own mom. Mary Grace was the light that helped all of us in the family through that dark moment in time. And shine she did. I'll be honest in saying, I don't really know how this works. I have no clue how to navigate these halls. I don't understand House hearings, lobbyists, floor debates. What I do know is that my daughter should still be here. Her death was 100% preventable. Complacency, among other things, led to the deaths of 27 amazing, innocent, beautiful girls. We can't let complacency claim the life of another child. We simply ask for mandatory, common sense, state-regulated safety protocols for camps. That's it. One thing I forgot to mention. We're from Beaumont, Texas. We know about floods, and we understand that Mother Nature can rear her ugly head. But that's not an excuse. Camps, especially those in areas prone to flash floods, should have adequate warning systems and not build cabins in dangerous floodplains. Period. Surely don't put 8 and 9-year-olds in them. Have a legitimate evacuation plan. Know the plan. Practice the plan. Train workers and counselors to implement the plan. To be clear, I don't want to shut down the entire camp industry. Generally speaking, camps are great. Hell, Mary Grace was having so much fun, she didn't even have time to write her family a note. I simply ask that our camps be held to a standard similar to other institutions that oversee our children. At the end of the day, Hurricane Harvey hit us hard, and the very next year, we were blasted by Hurricane Imelda. These disasters were both considered 500-year floods. This will happen again, and when it does, it might not even be a flood. The last thing I want is for over 1,100 camps in Texas hosting kids next summer under the same microscope that led to the death of my daughter and 26 of her friends. Please, please don't let another session pass without ensuring campers will come home. Thank you.
Thank you all for your testimony. Members, any questions? Senator Betancourt.
Thank you for all of your testimony. And to go to Mr. Baker's last comment, he said he didn't know how the place worked, how it works, how the lobbyists work. You don't have to worry about any of that. We're going to take care of this. And God bless you. And sorry for your loss.
Any other questions, members? Thank you all for your testimony.
Yes, sir.